Hello, folks. Thank you for joining us for this book's paranormal podcast. You might be listening on Spotify or YouTube. We are back here with Rob from the Wakefield Ghost Walk. That's his page on Facebook. We did do a live that some of you may have seen. Was it this week? Was it this week, Rob?
It was last week. I think it
Last
was
week.
last Friday, wasn't it? Oh, I
Yeah.
might
So
have
yeah, we that's right. That's still on my Facebook page, but the audio was quite bad and it just wasn't good enough to put onto YouTube because it wasn't giving Rob the justice that he deserved from the stories he had to tell. So we're just going to touch up for a half hour, 40 minutes or so on some of those stories that people were interested in. Um, and yeah, we'll let Rob take it away. But Rob, can you just tell us a bit firstly about who you are, what you do, and what the Wakefield Ghost Walk is?
Yeah, of course I can. Yeah, my name's Rob. I also go by the character The Curator, because as I like to say, the stories that I tell aren't mine. I just curate them. And I basically run the Wakefield Ghost Walk and the up and coming, when I can say it, Pontefract Ghost Walk as well. Um, where basically I take tourists and locals around the Wakefield area and tell them all about not just the hidden darker history, but also the weird things that have been seen in the locations that I point out.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's going really well.
no, good, good. I mean, one thing we just briefly spoke on before I press record on this podcast is that during the live, you were talking about a lot of different places that you walk past and what you talk about. And one viewer that was watching the live stream we did message in, and they told me to query you first. They told me that they were on a place called Chantry Bridge. I'm presuming that's a bridge in
Yeah,
Wakefield. They said, and apparently a figure appeared right in front of them. She turned around to tell someone, turned back, and it was gone. Now, I didn't ask too many questions about whether it was night, day, or whatever, because I didn't even know it was a real place. But
yeah.
you got any stories on Chantry Bridge?
There's a lot of stories that involve Chantry Bridge. Obviously, Chantry Bridge itself, it does have a Chantry church that's on it as well.
No.
That obviously links back to a long, long time ago. But the most famous story, which is the one that I often recall on the Ghost Walk, it's starting to be a little bit controversial because there's many historians that don't believe some of the history, but I'll go into that in a second. Um, but it basically involves the Battle of Wakefield and Sandal Castle, where many people know that with Wakefield, one of the biggest nursery rhymes that's come from it is obviously the Grand Old Duke of York,
Yeah.
where the Grand Old Duke of York, 10,000 men, marched up to the top of the hill, marched them down again. Now, the rhyme comes from the fact of that during 1460, um, the Duke of York was surrounded at Sandal Castle, and nobody knows quite why, but he left Sandal Castle. Um, that was a place of safety, whether he'd been starved out, whether he honestly thought that he could take on the Lancastrians that are surrounding him, nobody knows. But the battle ensued, and he was basically slaughtered along with his men um, in one of the fields just down from where the castle's located. Now, many people don't know that they actually had a son that was called the Earl of Rutland. And he actually was in the castle at the time that the battle was taking place, saw his dad pretty much being slaughtered on the battlefield, so decided he would make a run for it instead. And the story goes that he, a shooter, because bear in mind he was only 17 years old, um, ran from the castle towards Chantry Bridge location. And they either got as far as Chantry Bridge, or in my opinion, they got just past it before they were captured. And the Lancastrian, known as Lord Clifford, or also the Butcher, um, caught the Earl of Rutland and actually executed him on Chantry Bridge.
All right.
Actually stabbed him straight through the heart, even chopped off his head. Um, and obviously, his head was placed along with his dad's at Micklegate Bar at York. Now, there's a theory that Lord Clifford did that on Chantry Bridge because instead of taking him up to Sandal Castle, where his dad had been executed and beheaded, he did it at Chantry Bridge because he basically had a bloodlust because he was acting on revenge for his um, own, I think it was dad, being killed in battle by Lord Clifford. Not by Lord Clifford, should I say, by the Duke of York. So he basically said, "My kin for your kin," and basically did it as a bloody act of revenge. Um, Again, the reason why I'm saying it's a controversial story is that there's a historian recently that's developed evidence that the battle may not have even taken place, that story is maybe not right, and that actually the battle was fabricated, and that the Earl of Rutland and the Duke of York were actually captured just on the outskirts of Wakefield, taken to Pontefract Castle, but then murdered in cold blood in Pontefract. And um, they developed this story of there being a great battle to stop a rebellion because obviously they didn't want the Yorkists to basically go out on a revenge free because their leaders had been killed in cold blood. So they
Yeah.
basically came up with the story. That's the controversial story that's just come out that I've heard about recently, which there is a lot of evidence that proves that. But it's interesting that people have said that they have seen the Earl of Rutland down at Chantry Bridge, which again, it could be that this person's seen that. The other story and legend that goes with Chantry Bridge is a highwayman that was shot in the leg there when he was holding up a carriage and fell over the side of the bridge and was never seen again. The highwayman was called Henry Walton, and he was known as the Silent Highwayman because they believed that he either had a lisp or a very strong accent, and so deliberately didn't speak when he was holding up carriages. Pardon me. Um, because they thought that he'd be instantly recognised. So again, that's
Oh,
another figure that's also been seen around that area is that of a highwayman. Whether it's the two stories connected, whether it's something else, I don't know. There is also a folk legend as well of the ferryman, but again, that's more a folk tale than anything else. That under Chantry Bridge, there's been things heard and seen, and water riplets, and there been a spirit of a ferryman going underneath the bridge.
so
Um,
it's like a river then. It's not a road underneath. It's
no, it's a river underneath it. It's the River
oh,
Calder, I believe, that's underneath it.
okay.
But the bridge itself, it's not that big. It's I'd say most maybe a 10-foot drop, maybe something, maybe slightly more.
Yeah.
Um, there is a story connecting to Harry Houdini as well, belonging to that bridge, but that's maybe for another time. But there's an awful lot that's connected there. So the fact that someone said that they've maybe seen something there, it doesn't surprise me because it's one of the haunted locations in Wakefield. Yeah.
No way. Is that somewhere like that you go on your walk, or is that like out of the way?
It's a little bit out of the way from the point of view of where we go and where the walk takes us. If I was to lead people there, it would add on another 20, 30 minutes. But
Oh,
I talk about the location on an area that I believe is where the Earl of Rutland ran to because it's where an underground springs was. But back in the day, that spring would be up higher. And so,
okay.
to my mind, I don't think he crossed the spring, which is where I believe it's where he actually ran to before he was caught, or certainly the maximum that he could have run to get there. Yeah.
Ooh, interesting. I mean, one of the questions I wanted to ask you, which we did touch up on the live stream, was: is there at least one experience you've had that you can't actually explain? Now, I know you mentioned inside the building itself,
Yes.
but you can talk about that as well? But is there anything that's happened on your one of your walks that you've
Um,
found unexplainable?
yeah, there's not with me, but there's been with a couple of people that have seen, because obviously a ghost walk, for those of you that have been, it's not really like an investigation, it's more talking about the history, saying
Yeah.
what people have seen in the past. Now, there was a lady, again, a lady on the last walk that I was talking to right at the very end. She spoke about, because I tell about a story, a tragic story of a little boy that died in a well near the start of the walk. and she said that she felt very dizzy, very faint as I was telling the story. And that's happened numerous times in the pub that we go to. People have said that they felt touches, weird sensations, all different things like that. Which again, it's quite scary and eerie. I think the one that I was most scared of, in my own opinion, this wasn't from me, but from other people, was we had a group of teenage lads. Unfortunately, I didn't get the name, and I wish I had. Um, if hopefully if they're watching, if you want to write into me, that would be brilliant.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
they were telling me about how only a few weeks before, because they were proper hardcore paranormal investigators, and they were going out and they did things, and they thought it was brilliant that they were going to go on this walk and find out loads of stuff. But they were talking about 30 East Drive, uh, obviously a well-known haunted location in Pontefract.
Because that's near to where you do all the things, isn't it?
Yeah,
Wakefield itself.
yeah, and particularly near the Pontefract one. I don't go there, but it's certainly one of the biggest haunted locations that there is in West Yorkshire.
Yeah.
From all the films and everything like that that they've done and other paranormal investigations. But they'd said that they'd stopped the night there and they didn't really have much happen, in their opinion. They didn't say that it wasn't haunted, they didn't say that they didn't pick up on other things, but they said there wasn't the big thing of what they're expecting. On our walk, they actually went to the old vicarage, which is where we go at the end. And the strangest thing I had was that they were only up there for 10 minutes before they came down. And they said it wasn't anything that they'd seen, but the heads were thumping. It was felt really dizzy, really nauseous. They just didn't like being up there. Now, whether it was because we do still have tea and coffee, and I know it's one of my staff members that's up there that's maybe done it. I'm only joking, Gaynor, when I say this. That it was that, but I don't think it was. Um, but they did say that it had a very eerie feel, and that's certainly something like what I've said. That's where I've seen something is at the old vicarage, perhaps, and the eeriest place that even I don't like going in. Even when I tell people on the tour and everything, I don't like going in that building. I don't. I hate it.
So
Yeah.
that is where is oh, no, that's where you end the tour, but is that where you start from as well? Do people meet you there or?
Now we meet at the Black Horse, which is like the other side of Wakefield, because
Oh yeah, that's
yeah,
that's supposed to be a haunted place, isn't it? Like complete. I've heard about that before.
yes, yeah, the Black Horse. It's one of the most haunted places. Well, I think it's the most haunted pub in Wakefield, by hands down. That's what I truly believe. It's got not just one ghost story; it has about five that actually. And when I mean ghost story, I mean like stories related back into history that you can actually trace, like what we've done and found the
Yeah.
dates. Some grisly things that have happened there. Some deliberate, some accidents, um, suicides, all sorts. Anyway, so again, that's where we start off. Because of how Wakefield is, that everything's kind of spread out. Originally, I wanted to do it so it was a circular route and go like that. But in order to get the best for people and get it so they got a lot of the stories, because there's some really good ones in Wakefield, um, we've ended up having to do it that it's a point A to point B, purely so you can do that, and purely as well so you get the thing of going into the old vicarage and being able to spend as long or as little as you want. Because there's some people that like to just spend a couple of minutes in it and come out. There are
Yeah.
other people that like to spend half an hour, 45 minutes up there, and either or's fine. Yeah.
Is it used for anything else, or is it like purely just for for the paranormal sort of
No,
thing?
no, no. It's used. There's a lot of businesses that use it there. Like on the ground floor, there's like an online shop that sells clothing. Upstairs, there's obviously the hidden gem that does all sorts of like brilliant crystals, homemade things, and everything like that. There's Division 24, which is a fantastic skateboarding shop that sells all skateboards and stuff. And again, each one of these stores all have different
I was
stories
going to say
connected
that
to it.
they must have seen a lot of things during like CCTV and stuff, especially. I'd imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Like the guy that runs the skateboarding shop, he's told me stories about how it's locked up, and then there's been skateboards that have been literally look like they've been thrown across the room or fallen on the floor, but they've not just fallen; they've gone like a good 10 feet, and it's not as though they've rolled. And he's explained like how it is. It's gone past shelves and things. There's a famous story that I know Gaynor, someone that I work with, tells where it's a CD player, well, a radio player that they used to have in one of the shops, and it always used to go off in the middle of the night when no one was there, when there was only her there. Um, but when they went and had a look at it, because it's an old CD player, it's not something that could just manually turn on, and it was even
Yeah.
off at the plug.
I wonder if it always played the same song.
It played differently. It was made of metal, which was even worse. You know, obviously, like for me, it's like metal. It's not maybe my 100% type of music, but it's more in line with this. For
Yeah.
some of the people in the building, it wasn't like their type. But it's like what I've said, where I've kind of seen like that black figure maybe out the corner of my eye. Other people in that building have seen figures. One in particular even said that saw a gentleman with a top hat, pocket watch, everything like this on the stairs. So it all kind of matches up in a way. Yeah.
And you've also seen that, haven't you, on the stairs? You did
Um,
say before.
I couldn't honestly say what it was. I saw it again, like when I said the story. I'm a skeptic at heart, so I don't necessarily believe in what I've seen, if that makes sense. From the point of view of with a skeptical mind on, I knew the story beforehand. I
Yeah.
knew the rough location of where it had happened. It was late at night. I was helping work in the building. I went down the stairs, saw it out the corner of my eye, looked away, looked back again, and it had disappeared. Now,
Mm.
in my mind, being a skeptic, it's like, well, I've imagined it. I thought the story, thought of everything like that. It's just my imagination. But I know that other people have seen similar sort of things in the same area, in the same place. The main story that we tell in that building, obviously around the plague ghost that's seen in that area, that kind of corresponds to it. So I can't say whether it's yes or no of what
Yeah.
I've seen or not. Yeah,
See, this spirit's probably thinking, "What the hell do I have to do to get Rob to believe?
exactly.
What do I have to do?"
Well, it's a bit like I can't remember if I told you about this last time because I've told this story about the old vicarage and with my own interpretation of it, and I even did it for BBC Radio Leeds. And obviously they told the story and everything. And obviously they do it as snippets and cuts and everything like that, so people get to see the highlights.
Yeah.
And I got slated an awful lot by many people, as you do, for if you've seen something, why did you look away? You know, surely you'd have either run, froze to the spot but carried on looking at it, or tried to fight it and go towards it. You know, they're the three responses.
Mhm.
Yeah, froze to the spot, but I looked away because of something that happened in my past, which I have more belief in of my own thing. That if there was something out there that was supernatural that I'm a big believer in, that would be the one where it's like, no, that's more clear cut, and I can believe that. I don't believe this one.
Yeah.
And it was that I used to work as a security guard at a shopping centre near York. I don't think I'm allowed to say which one it is. But again, if you look at the background, you can probably work out for those viewers if you want to do
I,
some.
before you carry on, Robert, you
Yeah.
mentioned this on the live, didn't you? Before,
Yes.
after you mentioned that, this is a really weird thing, but I had a really random weird dream about that.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I can't. I can just picture. I don't know where it was. I'm presuming it's where you said we were speaking about it, but I could picture myself walking around the empty, like an empty shopping centre, and the escalators. Well, I'll let you tell the story, but yeah, I could picture that. I
Yeah.
think
No,
you must have been playing on my mind in the night, but
well, possible. I mean, like what I say, shopping centres are an eerie place, particularly when there's nobody there. You know that your mind already plays tricks with you. It's a bit like just to go into it. The shopping centre was built on an old hospital, so I was one of the youngest nighttime supervisors that they had there. And there was all sorts of crazy folk stories that people used to tell, particularly in security. Like if you go down a set place, you'd hear babies crying. If you went somewhere else, there was maybe a figure of a man seen. One that I actually found out, this is only recently because I was talking to someone about this story last week, and they, when I started to talk about what it was like, oh my god, it was that shopping centre, and they named it, and I was like, yes. And they said, did you ever hear about the nun? And I was like, no. And apparently, lots of shops believed that they saw a nun going down the corridor. Now,
Yeah.
I've never heard that, but just something. Obviously, it's to give you the impression of that there was lots of stories that existed, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, but in security, there was apparently an agency worker before I joined that was working the night shift. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. They opened the female toilets. As they opened the female toilets, an old lady apparently walked out. He didn't twig at that point what is an old lady doing here at 2 o'clock in the morning, but literally held the door open and even went, "Oh, sorry, love," and held it open for her to walk out.
That's why you got sacked.
Yes, literally just like half asleep, doing it like that. Walked into the toilet, took 3 steps, and then was like, "Hang on, that person shouldn't be in here." Turned around, walked out, and there was nobody there. Yeah, and they checked all through the shopping centre. Nobody there, no signs of anything. Freaked this guy out that he ended up staying in the security office all night and refused to come back in and work another shift. Right? Now, this was before my time of working there. I don't know if it was just a story that security had made up that they told new members of staff. I've got no idea, but you did hear about it. Anyway, fast forward to what I had. I've been working there, must have been working there about 2, 3 years. I'd worked the night shift the night before, so I'd done a full 12 hours. Nothing had occurred. Absolutely fine during the night, not an issue. It was a Saturday night that this had happened going into the Sunday morning. On the Sunday morning, one of the members of staff that was supposed to be working the day shift hadn't turned up. And so I volunteered to work extra hours, so working another 6 hours, which would literally be from 7 till about 1 o'clock, roughly one,
Yeah.
2 o'clock. And it was right when I was finishing my shift at about 1, 2 o'clock, I was going up the escalator. Again, busy shopping centre, full of lots of people. And there was a woman stood on the first floor balcony, right where the toilets are, what I've explained before, dressed all in black Victorian clothing. I thought, that's very weird. Why would somebody dressed like
Excuse
that? But as your mind does, if anyone's ever come across something strange or mysterious, you automatically come for the logical answer. So it was like, oh, there's a charity stall working on the North Mall. I think it was like cancer research or something. It's maybe something to do with that, someone plugging that or something. They're just dressed like that.
Yeah.
But then I walked past her and she was as real as anything. Took 3 or 4 steps and thought, no, this is really weird. Wouldn't it be weird if I turned around now and she wasn't there? I turned around and she was still stood there. Now, in my mind, that's not like what I'd had before at the old vicarage where seen something, turned around, disappeared. This was definitely something where I turned around, still stood there. So even though I was tired, I've got more belief in that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That, like if I'd imagined it, if I'd turned around like what I did where I'm like second guessing, she wouldn't be stood there, but she was. Went through the double service doors because I thought, oh no, there's nothing strange about that, just someone dressed really weirdly. And like I say, Victorian clothing, it was like a framed dress. I don't know if you've seen it before. I think you described it as like a toilet.
Yeah. The
I
toilet
can't remember what it, but it was perfect
is
thing. If you
good.
imagine just like a darker version of that, that's what it was like. Um, and literally was like, wouldn't it be weird though now if she would disappear? And I turned around and yeah, she'd gone. It wasn't like a mist that disappeared. She was just gone. So I thought she just walked off.
Yeah.
Um, I went to the security office, which is just like down from that, and I went, just have a look on camera and see if there's anything. And they were like, what are you on about? And I'm like, there's somebody dressed like this in the shopping centre. Rob, you've had a long night. No, honestly, there's someone dressed like this. Anyway, they looked around, nothing there. And later on that evening, when they're able to go back on the cameras and you like have what's called lapse time, where it's not filmed live, it's done like every
Every
five
5, 10
seconds
seconds.
or
Yeah.
whatever. It actually came up of me going past that area, but nobody being stood there.
So if that, like, if that's in lapse time, Could it have potentially miss that lady for like the 4 seconds?
It could have
Or
done, definitely, but the way in which it was, you've got
excuse
to
me.
imagine, I saw her going up the escalator, so you're talking a good, I'd say 40 seconds. And it's
Okay.
even got me like turning around looking. But again, as a skeptic point of view, you could even say, as I do, well, maybe it still was my imagination. Maybe it still was that thing that I'd heard it and I made it up. But I have more belief in that from the point of view of looking away, looking back, and it still being there, which is what I did at the vicarage.
It
But
was
when I
there.
look back, it disappeared. So it's like it's one or the other, if you get what I mean. I think one of them is my imagination, the other one maybe isn't, or vice versa. But which one it is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. And you'd say that's the most unexplainable experience you've really got in your head, like.
I'd say so, yeah. I mean, there's been a couple of things where I've, because I used to work in Flex Pop, working down near Newark. And again, that place was regarded as being haunted by one of the residents that maybe lived there or history and stuff. I didn't really delve into this one too much, and obviously I don't want to because it was a very
Yeah.
recent thing that's happened. But I did get, I have to laugh because it was when I obviously being my skeptic mind, and it was one of the staff members there that said, "You're just a skeptic, you just don't believe." And I was like, "No, I don't believe in it." Because people had said that they'd seen things. I was like, "I don't believe, I just don't see how that could possibly happen." This is like 10, 15 years ago. And as soon as I said it, some keys flew across the room and hit me on the side of the head. No word of a lie. There was an eyewitness there. And I literally was like, and they were like, "How do you explain that?" And I went, "I can't," and shook my head and walked out. But at that point, I was like, I can't even go on this. I
I
still kept to the same viewpoint, but I was
told
like,
you.
I'm not going there. Yeah,
That's this ghost. He's saying, I've tried. What?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
take
That's
that.
what people say to me. Yeah,
Okay. Um, Another thing that I see, not only the Chantry Bridge that someone did mention, I noticed on the live itself,
yeah.
was when we was talking about Pontefract. I can't even say it, Pontefract.
Pontefract. Yeah.
Pontefract. They mentioned about an haunted castle there. Apparently, a really well-known haunted castle.
Yes.
Is that like involved in your tour of Pontefract?
It's not because the castle itself, there's a fantastic group that's obviously the Pontefract Civic and also the Pontefract Heritage Group. Fantastic organisation. They are brilliant. And they do their own tour of the actual castle. They even take you down the dungeons. And it's brilliant. If you've not been on it and you go to Pontefract, go on that. It's incredible. It really is because you actually go in the castle and everything. Um, but that's not. But that's not to say that I don't talk about the castle because obviously it's a big thing,
Yeah.
and there are some stories that are linked to the castle, such as um, there's a story of a woman that was shot and killed in the market square by a stray musket shot that was fired from the castle. Now, I have my own theory on that of whether it was that it was from the castle or whether it was someone that was maybe sieging the castle that did a misfire. I don't know, but there's obviously that's a controversial opinion that I have that maybe it could be. But again,
Yeah.
that's my own opinion. I can't back it up. It's just something that I'm like, I could believe that that maybe was it. But also outside the castle itself, on the main gate, was the main execution site. Because obviously, people that were executed weren't deemed to be um, what's the word, like privileged enough to be executed in the castle. They were always executed, usually, and beheaded just outside the castle walls.
Hmm.
So again, on the walk, I'm doing like an optional thing where it finishes in the town centre, but then I say, if anyone would like to walk down to the execution site, I will show you where they believe it was, but also to point out where the castle is, so that if anyone wants to do a tour in the future with the castle team, they can do that and hopefully give them a plug as well.
No, no, definitely.
Yeah.
How do people like if they wanted to book a tour with you and go on one of these tours, how to do it?
Yeah. Basically, we don't even have a website. This is what's strange about it, because literally it's one of these things where I did it as a hobby 6 months ago as like a one off Wakefield, and it's just grown and grown and grown. It's like
I
I
keep
put
seeing on
one on.
Facebook that you're always full, aren't you? Like
Yeah, it's
always sold
literally
out.
fully booked up for 6 months already, and it's like, wow, you just can't believe it. So it has like just taken off. But if you go on either the Wakefield or the Pontefract one, whenever there's new tickets that have been released, because I think we're releasing new tickets for June this Sunday.
Yeah.
So if you go on Sunday, you can see the time. I think it's Sunday at 6 o'clock. We're releasing them because it just makes it fairer.
When you
And
say
I've seen
go
it
on,
before.
when you
Then
say
do it.
go on, do you mean like other people on Spotify? Do you mean like your Facebook?
Yeah,
Is that what
Facebook
I mean?
account. Sorry, yeah, Facebook account. Go on the Facebook page, type in Wakefield Ghost Walk or Pontefract Ghost Walk, and it'll come up with the link on Sunday, which is linked to Eventbrite, where you can book the tickets and do it like that,
Okay.
if that makes sense. We are doing a website and we're trying to get that up and running, but obviously with websites, it's building it and we're basically working on the back foot.
Yeah, it's a lot of work there.
Um, one thing that we have launched, well, when I say have launched, are launching in June. People have asked not just for a ghost one, but there's a lot of murders that have happened in Wakefield over the years, particularly from like the 1900s
Yeah,
and just slightly beyond. We're actually doing a murder walk as well, so it's not as ghostly and thingy, but
that'd be
talking
cool.
about the grisly murders that have happened there and the foul things that have basically done. That's going to be a lot darker than the actual ghost
Yeah,
walk. Obviously, the ghost walk more what things that people have seen. They've seen the history, but then seen things after. This is where spirits might not have been seen, but these are the ghastly stories that do exist.
no,
Yeah.
definitely. I love that sort of stuff. I'm doing something similar on my own page actually.
Wow.
Obviously, I'm more all paranormal and all that podcasts and all that, but I'm really into like the serial killers and the true crimes, unsolved mysteries, and all that. So I'm doing like a little bit of a spin-off series where I make little videos about the evidence, real life interviews, and
Wow.
tell a bit of the true story behind it. And I've got like I say, it's a spin-off, but it's like Books Paranormal, Dark Reality. Episode one, I've dug into like Fred and Rose West, so I'm keeping it in this country for the first one.
Brilliant.
But it's I've put weeks into it, and I'm nowhere near finished yet. I'm
Yeah.
hoping the next couple of weeks that'll be out, but I do love that sort of stuff because it all
It,
links in. It links into the paranormal as well. You know,
it does.
a murder happens in a house. These paranormal investigators go to the house, they catch the evidence, and it all links in together.
It
But
all links in together and you don't know. I mean, again, from a skeptic, it could be that I'm planting the seed so people then might say, oh,
exactly,
well, we
yeah,
had things happen, but they're not. It could also be the other way around of things have been seen that I've not known about, but then
yeah,
people didn't do it afterwards. But again, it's just incredible. I mean, one of the things that I'm doing, which is quite, I don't think anyone else has done this on a walk doing it, is with the murder one, telling the 9 stories that I really like so far. So telling the 9 stories, and then each one explaining when the culprit's been caught, whether they're found guilty or whether they were found innocent. Because there are some stories where it's like, oh, he might not have been, he might not have been. But then on the last one that I tell, I give them all the evidence, I tell the story, but then get the group to vote as a jury of whether they think that the person was guilty or innocent.
that's
They
good.
then vote, and then right at the end, I tell them whether they got it right or not.
That'd
Which
be
again,
good.
it just adds something that's thingy, but they get to see whether our version of justice is the same version of what it was back
What it
then
was,
in the
yeah,
1800s. Yeah,
no, totally different.
yeah. I think it will be. I've not tested it. I've tested it with a couple of people, like in my home, and told them the thing.
hmm
But yeah, it's strange, definitely.
Yeah, I love that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I know you're not very well, so thank you for jumping on
No,
tonight.
that's all right.
If you can just finish off with the last story that had everyone shocked in the comments before was about the bear.
Yeah, no,
If
I
you
can
don't
do
mind just
that.
telling us a little bit about that.
Yeah. And me. Apologies. I will be having my lipstick in a minute, but don't worry. Yeah, so one of the most famous stories that we have is obviously a bear that apparently came from Wakefield. And when I first heard this story, I thought, what is this? Is the biggest load of rubbish I've ever heard in my life. That is truly what I thought. And it dates back to the 1st of June, 1844, where in Wakefield, apparently there was a zoological gardens. And in this zoological gardens, there was a bear. Now, this bear people would come far and wide to Wakefield to see, basically a bit like a tourist attraction. And it goes that on the 1st of June 1844, a drunk biscuit salesman decided it would be a good idea to taunt this bear by breaking up his biscuit pieces and throwing it at the bear's head. Um, as I've called the bear, this is my own interpretation. I've called him Old Billy. Obviously, there are other people that call him a different name, but that's what I've got. I know that there was a bear called Brune, which is spelt Bruin, that existed before Billy, but he died before June. And so the Hazelgrave family, which owned the bear, bought a new bear, but it's not written in records that I can find so far of even whether it's a male or a female. Some accounts say it's even a female, other accounts say it's a male, but I've called him Old Billy.
That might be where
That's
the
about
the old Billy Bear meat came from when he
it
was
could
kids.
be, yeah, it could well be.
Well be.
I won't claim that for myself, but Um, but anyway, he managed to escape from the pit that he was in, and he basically ran a rampage around the zoological gardens. The sister-in-law of the owner and the owner's wife went to try and stop the bear from escaping and try and put him back where he belongs. Unfortunately, they were both injured. The wife was injured, when I say a little bit, she was savaged quite a bit, but the sister in law was apparently mauled to pieces in the yard. Two people tried to rescue them, managed to get the two ladies back into the Orangery building that's actually on the actual gardens, whilst Billy was still literally running amok in that area. Now, again, in the story that I'd heard from folklore and everything, was that people surrounded the area and half of them were armed. One gentleman that was a druggist shot Billy in the face, but he didn't die. Then there was a local gunsmith by the name of John Boston, who just made one of the first pepper pot revolvers in Wakefield. Decided to try and show it off by giving his son the revolver to kill Billy with. Fortunately, the son wasn't a very good shot and shot Billy in the shoulder instead, which just aggravated him further. And it was only at that point that Billy, having enough, actually crawled back to one of the cages and literally the villagers saw what was happening and locked him back in the cage. So basically, he was in a cage at this point. So literally, like safety wise, Billy severely injured. The two women, one of them practically near dead, the other one mauled very badly. The two ladies. Basically, was left like that for a few hours. The owner returned back, Mr. Hazelgrave, saw what had happened in the carnage and the savagery, so ordered a local butcher to shoot Billy and kill him. And it's rumoured that the butcher took Billy's head as a souvenir. The two ladies, the wife managed to survive, although she was very disfigured, but the sister in law died 8 days later in hospital. But it was said that on her deathbed, she forgave Billy. Now, in the area, there's been all sorts of different stories. There's been people that said they've heard growls coming from the graveyard, not graveyard, oratory, should I say, screams that have been heard, all different things. That I don't know. I know that there is a mural in the area where you can actually see an artist done an impression of Billy, actually on the wall, one of the walls, which again is fantastic. You can see it on our Facebook page as well, this artist. Not part of our ghost walk, it was an image that was there before.
Yeah.
But again, I'd heard this story. It's something that's been passed around all the Wakefield, and I thought, this can't be true. There's no way. Everything that what you said, even the point of view of there being a bear shot 3 times, didn't die, butcher taking its head and killing it, can't be. Until I went through the records, and even on the Ghost Walk actually show, there is a newspaper article from 1844 that we've got from the Halifax Guardian that actually has the full story printed in full, and it's practically word for word of what I've just said. The only thing that's not mentioned is the butcher taking its head, but it was a butcher that definitely killed him. So yeah,
I think every story ever told must come from some form of truth.
sure,
Be 1% truth out of 100, yeah, it's still
yeah.
truth. Yeah. But
It's it's the one story that backs it up. I mean, there's even the inquest report that we got, because the inquest was actually held at the Black Horse, which obviously is where we start. Because back in the old days, all inquests used to happen at the nearest pub, which is where
yeah,
that was, and it was even ruled of it being an accidental death. You know, everything, but it's the story where you can't disprove it. Everything of what's been said happened. Yeah,
um, you think of all the articles and all that would have been lost over time as well.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
you
no,
may get bits of what really happened on here.
yeah, no. I mean, there's a lady, I can't remember her surname, Rebecca, who was being fantastic. She actually did a dissertation on the actual thing and was a massive help finding all the information and stuff because she had a lot of the articles as well. And again, just fantastic how people have rallied together in order to get all the information. It's just been brilliant.
No, brilliant.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rob. So, I mean, is there anything you want to say before we wrap up for tonight?
No, only obviously I apologise for how my voice, you know, it's getting croaky and
No,
croaky
I mean, I think I've
speak.
got it coming as well.
But again, I've absolutely loved telling it and telling the story. Like what I say, when I do the Wakefield Ghost Walk, it's not just me. I do have a couple of volunteers that help me do it. I know there's like a lady that I talked about, Gaynor, that runs the Hidden Gem up at the old vicarage. She's got a Facebook page. So if you do want to see some of the like stores that are up there, you can see that, and it's open
Yeah,
with the opening times and stuff. Um, Again, the Black Horse, fantastic, and all the other places. You can just find out more by just visiting the Facebook page. Yeah.
I think every town's got a pub called the Black Horse, isn't
Oh yeah, I think
there?
so. Either that or the Red Lion or the Royal Oak. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got them
Yeah.
all. Yeah. But no, yeah. Thank you for coming on, then, Rob. Do appreciate you coming back again, just to go over a few of the stories. Anyone on YouTube and Spotify that's listening, uh, have you got YouTube or anything, Rob, or is it just Facebook you're on?
We have got a YouTube account, but I must admit, again, it's focusing 100% attention on the Facebook thing because that's
Yeah,
where people are
feel better.
contacting me at the moment. So if you have posted anything on YouTube or doing anything like that, post it to my Facebook and I will answer you because that's the one where I'm having to focus on my attention. But yeah, definitely.
No, definitely. So yeah, everyone check out Rob and Wakefield Ghost Walk. Message him with any questions you've got to ask him. Like he's just said, he'll answer you back. He will reply.
Yeah.
Or if you want to, comment in the comment section on this video actually on YouTube, and I'll read through everything. Then I'll pass everything back on to Rob and get him to either answer you or maybe get you back on another time to answer some of the questions on the video.
No, absolutely. And
See what
thank
they
you
have to
so
say.
much for having me. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, enjoyed every
Yep,
minute.
appreciate it. Well, hope you get better soon, and we'll speak to you soon.
Definitely.
Thanks a
Thank
lot,
you
Rob.
again.
Catch you all later. Bye.
Cheers. Thanks.